Hello fans of Sweet Lucidity, I am back to answer questions you submitted concerning Dragonfly, the second book in the series, and there are a lot of them. So let's begin. Thank you. I really did enjoy writing that scene. I had thought of it while I was writing Sweet Lucidity, and I just couldn't wait to get to it, to explore, the whole concept of sleep, and especially when two vampires sleep with each other. As for the question, no, not all vampires sleep in coffins. Depending on the era that the vampire was born into, will determine how they sleep. Coffins were a very popular choice during the 17th and 20th centuries, and for most vampires. And so, a lot of the vampires in Sweet Lucidity were changed during that time or born during that time, and so. Of course, the most common way to sleep and most comfortable way to sleep was a coffin. However, I am letting it be a surprise of how other vampires decide to sleep in Silent Requiem, the third book in the series. There are going to be very many surprises to show the different ways that more ancient vampires choose to sleep. Arwen has an ability at a very young age to communicate with other vampires through his mind, telepathically. Though the closer physical and emotional connection he has with someone, the clearer the communication. He has considerable speed on the ground, and he can leap great distances, and of course he is much stronger than a human. Though his strength is more realized when he is caught in the act of fight or flight. So when adrenaline is pumping through his body, his strength is doubled, or tripled even. Not all vampires have supernatural abilities, though they do have kind of a hyper awareness and sensitivities to their environment and people they come in contact with. All vampires must sleep the length of time that they're exposed to daylight. Otherwise, the physical strength is just weakened. Their ability to heal from injuries is less, and the risk for actually being killed increases. And of course, and as they grow weaker, they won't have any control over when they awaken when they fall asleep. And so there's a danger there that they can weaken so much that they kind of go into a comatose state and they have no control over it. And it exposes them to being killed. Uh, David never changed anyone before. He changed Melissa. So he strictly felt it was not his choice to change someone. Xavier and Nadine never asked, and so he never considered it. He's a very considerate vampire. Yes, all children born to vampires can communicate with their parents in their sleep, though they cannot communicate with their parents from any considerable distance. They must be close by and in close proximity. And so that's why when Arwen gets on his parents' coffin, he is able to communicate with them because he is in very close proximity to them. Yes, when two vampires in close proximity of each other, they can share their dreams with each other. For instance, when two vampires are together, one can share memories with the other and be able to control which memories they share. However, say for instance, if one was to see the future in their dream, and another one was joined in them, they would not be able to manipulate what the other could see. And there's also a disconnect there from what the other is perceiving to see. I had decided to write a book about Ryan and his life, much to the urging of the fans of his character. And I'll write his story up to include his conflict with his feelings for Melissa. However, Ryan still has a lot of story left. He is very much a key character in Silent Requiem. Ryan fans will not be disappointed. You guys will have a lot more of him in the upcoming books. Willow was born purely from imagination. Her character slowly came together as I wrote Dragonfly. As for Arwen, he is based off my son. It only seemed right to base Melissa's perspective as a mother based off my own. Dragonfly is much more darker and violent than Sweet Lucidity, much like the nature that surrounds the world of vampires. In Silent Requiem, it deals with the human holocaust by the hands of the vampires around the world. So, of course, it's going to consist of more horror and violence. But Sweet Lucidity was more of my opportunity for you, the readers, to get to know Melissa and David and how they started and really be attached to them as the story continues, because through all of these books, it's still the story of Melissa and David, and it's not the end. It's far from being the end. They've got a lot more experiences together to learn from and to grow from and to survive. Yes, there are vampires whose venom is nearly impossible to survive. This characteristic belongs mostly to the ancient cold-bloods, one whose souls are most corrupt. This will be explored more in Silent Requiem. But yes, there are vampires that their bite injecting their venom into another person, a human and vampire-like, is not survivable. There are many fans of Jeremy, though even the bad ones need love too, don't they? But no, I am not planning on writing more about him. I do plan to illustrate Dragonfly, and this will certainly be one of them that will be included. The issue with illustrating the ebooks is that there's a limit to how large the file itself can be, which limits the number of illustrations. When a series is put into print, I will be including more illustrations that could not be included in ebook editions, as well as including these on the website as kind of Easter eggs for fans to find, and they're fabulous. My mother is very much alive, though she is not well. So the scene where Melissa decides to change her mother did come from a very personal place. I think we all wish our loved ones can stay with us forever. So that scene embodies that desire. I also wanted to keep a matriarch to be the glue that holds the family together. And her character will play a very important role in Silent Requiem. And so she still had a lot more story left, and she was very vital to the story continuing. Alicia was inspired by a childhood memory, though the memory took on a life of its own that gave birth to Alicia's character. I love the idea of vampire children, especially the juxtaposition of youth and old age in conflict with each other. This goes without saying. Uh, um, Alicia is not the only child vampire that will appear in the series. This will become very evident in Silent Requiem. Even in real life, children have the capability of being very violent and cruel, uh, more than any adult. Take Mary Bell, for instance. She was a very young girl who statistically murdered a very, very young boy. And she responded to her crime by saying, "Murder isn't that bad. We all die sometime anyway." She's by far not the only example. So the idea that children who inflict violence is not born from fiction, but is born from real life. I think that is why it's so disturbing, because children are supposed to be harmless and innocent. Though human nature is as unpredictable as Mother Nature, and it's that lack of prediction that makes children and violence a very interesting commentary to me. I agree. Alicia was very misunderstood, but she was her own worst enemy. There will be more like her, and she will pale in comparison. Today we have horror films that hold nothing back, so I see no reason why the violence in Sweet Lucidity should be edited or censored in any way. Um, if it's made into film, the series, I'm going to definitely make sure it's true to the books. I don't want any regrets, and I certainly do not want any of fans and readers to be disappointed. Thank you. That is a compliment I never get tired of hearing. As a horror fan myself, I strive to give horror fans what they want. As for the horror and future books of the series, you haven't seen anything yet. Um, the horror in Silent Requiem takes on a proclivity of that is psychological in nature. So it's going to be quite a ride. I do plan on illustrating Dragonfly. Well, for the very reason that erotica just doesn't interest me one bit. And just because a book is meant for adults doesn't mean it needs to include gratuitous sex, in my opinion. I write what I would like to read, and while sex is a part of life, it has a sacredness and deserves a level of respect, in my opinion. Amias came to me by watching television right before drifting off into a wickedly devious dream. He does have special abilities, just like any other warm blood. However, he is not as strong or fast, and he will struggle with being one of the weakest in the family, especially in comparison to his sister as they grow older in Silent Requiem. Thank you. Uh, what happens to Effie will be revealed in Silent Requiem. Willow has a very important role to play within the family, so there was no way I was going to send her character to her demise. As for introducing a cold blood into the family, I feel it's important to bring readers into the world and most importantly into the mind of a cold blood. Their village is very secluded and unassuming, with no amenities to visitors, so they have little to no contact with the outside world. However, surrounding communities like Cloudcroft are very aware of their existence, and those who know of them do keep their identity secret, though this tranquility will be tested in the next book. Yes, female vampires are stronger than males in some aspects. In real life, women are able to bear children and manage stress much differently, which makes them stronger than males in that way. So, of course, this is mirrored in the existence of vampires in Sweet Lucidity. Though that doesn't mean that will always be the case, as will be seen in future books. Melissa has made her choice, and she is not the kind of woman to play with emotions of those she cares about. So, though she will always love Ryan, it is the kind of love that doesn't require a physical intimacy. And besides, Ryan is fated to fall in love with another. There just weren't many opportunities for romance in Dragonfly as there was in Sweet Lucidity. However, in future books, there will be romance with more characters' lives being told. And of course, the love between Melissa and David will be what the story survives on as the series continues. It is based off their love, and so the story begins with it, and the story will end with it. Nothing is worse than a damsel in distress, in my opinion. Um, don't get me wrong. There is something very, very sexy about when a man rescues a woman, and vice versa, if done right. However, I don't like my female characters relying on the strengths of a man, because women are fully capable of being heroes. We see it in real life every single day. And so there is just no reason why women can't be, heroes and be brave and strong and be their own rescuers in fiction. Um, there is a reason why we were the ones chosen to bring new life into this world. No, Antonio will not magically return. He is gone. The next villain is much more complex in nature, and it will give just as much reason to demand respect as much as hate. A newly changed vampire does not have the instincts like that of a cold or warm blood, so their bodies are not adjusted to sleep to restore their bodies and reflect on their actions. Their minds are quicker to pervert, and they turn onto their animal instincts for survival. Therefore, their lust for blood will be with little regard for consequence and much less selective. You simply just cannot starve a vampire. Regardless of the race, they will rely on their survival instincts to thrive. So this can be a dangerous threat if someone finds a way to use it to their advantage, as seen in Dragonfly. However, if they are starved to the point that goes beyond that very much a panic to survive and to thrive by taking the blood of others, if they get beyond that point where they become weakened and sick, they will go into a comatose state. So they would be of no use. But at that right moment, where they're at the most rabid, yes, they are very dangerous weapons. Patrick had changed Alicia and caring for her as if she was his daughter. Due to the immense number of you who were very interested in Alicia's history, I will be writing a separate book on her life, and it will feature more of Patrick and Amias and her life with them. Thank you. Thank you so much. The others experienced the earth shattering, though she was the only one to see the illusion from within the mansion. The reason for this will be revealed in the next book, but as for the crack in the earth, leading from where Effie met the stranger to David and Melissa's coffin in Silent Requiem, metaphors will hold strong meanings to carry the story forward. So you'll just have to wait to discover the hidden allegories. What happens next?